up everyone? So continuing the Venice Film Festival coverage, today's movie I'm discussing on the channel is the big ticket item of this year's Venice Film Festival, which is Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Mary Shelley's iconic book, Frankenstein. Since Guillermo del Toro won his Oscars for directing and producing The Shape of Water, the man has been breathing new life into the stories which had the most influence on him growing up. So think Pinocchio and Nightmare Alley. Quite frankly, when I learned that he was making a Frankenstein movie, I was like, sold, okay? I don't need to know anything else about this movie. I will be seated. Because Guillermo del Toro and Frankenstein is a match made in heaven, okay? It's a perfect pairing because Guillermo del Toro is the master of misunderstood creature features. So this was easily my most anticipated film from Venice this year. And even though there have been countless adaptations of Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro finds a way to make the story his own. In his Frankenstein, which he has written the screenplay for, he tells the very familiar story from two different perspectives, from the point of view of the creator and also the creation. Most people are already probably familiar with the plot of Frankenstein, but for those of you that aren't, a brilliant but egotistical scientist called Victor Frankenstein, who's played in this film by Oscar Isaac, brings a creature to life through a monstrous experiment which ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation. Thank you very much, IMDb. So what did I think of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? I am so curious to find out what the Letterboxd and Metacritic scores are going to be after the embargo for this film drops, because when I left the cinema in Venice, the reactions to this film were all over the place, okay? Some people loved it, and some people didn't like it at all. Like Josh and Cody from Next Best Picture, neither of them liked it. But Ren from Ren Geekness YouTube channel, he loved it. He said it was his favorite film of the year. As for where I stand, I'm leaning more towards the positive side, okay? I was very swept up in this film. I was entertained. But overall, I do think the film came up a little bit short for me. I still think it's a very good movie, but I can only compare Guillermo to Guillermo, and honestly, I don't think this is top-tier Guillermo. Like, it's not amazing, but there's still a lot to praise about it. I feel like I always end up saying the same thing whenever I review or discuss one of Guillermo's films on the channel, and that is that his films are always, visually stunning, beautifully directed, and the world building is off the charts, and all of that is applicable to Frankenstein. But there is something about the look of this film which feels a little off in places for a Guillermo del Toro film. I think it has something to do with the fact that this is a Netflix film, and that some of the shots in this just have this sort of hollow sheen to them. And I would say it's at its worst at the start of this film. The opening prelude of this film takes place in 1857. It's set in the far most northern point of the sea, and this Danish boat called the Horizon is stuck in the ice. The sailors on board notice an explosion in the distance, and when they go to investigate, they find a wounded man on top of the ice who turns out to be Victor Frankenstein, played by Oscar Isaac, who goes on to tell the captain of the ship and us, the audience, how he got here, only for him to be interrupted by the creature they created, Frankenstein's monster, played in this film by Jacob Elordi. Something about this opening sequence with this over-the-top violence on board the ship didn't quite sit with me right. It felt like the Marvelification of modern movies. The way it looks, there was an artifice to it, which is never a complaint I have with Guillermo del Toro's films. It felt like I was looking at a lot of green screen and flashy visual effects, and dare I say, it kind of looked quite generic. And I hate the idea of using the word generic to describe Guillermo del Toro's work. However, I will say, once the prelude is done with and the narrative shifts its focus to telling Victor's side of the story, and it's mostly set at Victor's castle or tower, this is where the film really found its footing, okay? The world felt more textural, it felt more fantastical, and this is what we came for. Frankenstein's tower is some seriously impressive production design. It absolutely screams Del Toro, what with the moss-covered walls and stairwells, the Gothic architecture. The laboratory has this massive spherical window as well as carvings in the walls. It was a lot of fun just to let my eyes roam around this massive set and appreciate all the tile work, the chute, the massive wheels that actually move, the batteries that were made for real by production designer Tamara Deverell. Okay, this is where both the monster and the movie itself comes alive. It's that Guillermo vision that we know and love. And Del Toro's pit crew all understood the assignment with this sequence. Dan Lauston's beautiful work with light and shadow is on display. It's just exquisite cinematography. And Alexander Desplat's score, my god. During the, I guess you call it the assembly scene where Victor Frankenstein is, assembling all his bits and pieces to create the monster, Alexander Desplat gives us this really creepily romantic score, as we're watching Victor like sawing and hacking off limbs, sewing severed body parts together, and him like pulling on exposed nerve tendons like they're puppet strings. Nah! Visually, it's disgusting, yet the music is telling you it's romantic. It shouldn't work, but like Frankenstein's monster, it weirdly does. But that's Guillermo's gift. He's one of the few filmmakers with the skills to stitch together unlikely things like gory horror and swooning romance. The only other contemporary filmmaker that I think could pull it off is Luca Guadagnino. You just have to watch Bones and All to see what I mean. But yeah, there's so many scenes in this where one moment I'm going, "Aww," and then the next I'm going, "Yeah, oh, no!" God. Yeah, Del Toro is playing emotional ping pong with some of these scenes. And when it comes to his direction, he has such an eye for visual imagery. Symmetry is a major theme in this film, with how the story explores the line between life and death, God and man, creator and creation. But there are so many exquisite little details in this film, which I feel only Guillermo del Toro could have come up with. For example, there's this one scene where Elizabeth, that's Mia Goth's character, comes to visit Victor in his laboratory, and she's wearing this gorgeous red dress. And in one shot, she bends over to examine this dissected cadaver. But what's exceptional about this shot is if you look closely at the threaded lacing that binds the corset together, that goes up her back, if you follow it up her back, it continues onto the cadaver where the surgical stitching is. It acts as a sort of visual metaphor for her being tethered to the dead. In fact, several of Elizabeth's costumes are linked to the idea of death, such as her wedding dress, which is very strappy, and it kind of looks like the bandages that Jacob Elordi is wrapped up in when he's in the laboratory, who Elizabeth forms a special bond with. And also, she wears this padded bonnet in one scene, and it's very reminiscent of the coffins at the start of this film, which have like a hole where the face pops out. It looks just like that. Immaculate costume work from Kate Hawley. But yeah, Guillermo del Toro's grasp of visual language is all over this film. Like the scene where the monster is brought to life, he's literally on a crucifix rather than a table, just to sort of reiterate the idea that Victor is playing God right now. That shot was very show, don't tell, but I will say, I wish Guillermo del Toro could have applied that to some of his dialogue that comes later in the film, because there is one scene where one of the characters says to Victor that you're the monster, and it's just like, duh, yeah, we know that. Okay, you're telling us rather than showing us. I wish Guillermo didn't feel the need to spell it out loud for us. So yeah, visually, I think this film is stronger than what was written on the page. When it comes to the performances in this, I did enjoy what everybody brought. Like, Oscar Isaac and Mia Goth were fine. Same with Christoph Waltz, who plays Herr Harber. Sorry, correction, he plays Herr Harlander. Sorry. But for me, the performances that moved me the most were Jacob Elordi as the monster and David Bradley as the blind farmer. Their whole little chapter together where the blind man befriends the monster and sees him for what he truly is, a good man as well as his friend, was genuinely the most moved I felt watching this film. It was kind of reminiscent of Eliza and the Amphibian in The Shape of Water. Like, it is unorthodox, but you don't doubt it. You believe that their connection is pure and tender. I'm not saying it's romantic like Eliza and the Amphibian, I'm just saying I felt the connection between the two of them. Heck, the romances in this film between Oscar Isaac and Mia Goth, or Mia Goth and Jacob Elordi, didn't hit me as hard as this friendship between David Bradley and Jacob Elordi. Their scenes together were the heart of this film, at least for me anyways. Also, I should say that I was a little bummed when I found out that Andrew Garfield was originally supposed to play the role of the monster, but had to drop out and Jacob Elordi stepped in. I would have really loved to have seen what Andrew Garfield would have done with this role, but Elordi truly impressed me here. He really found the tortured humanity in this character. When it's his chapter, I felt so much sympathy and pathos for him as he goes on this quest to figure out who he is. He wants answers about his identity that is so fundamentally human, but even he sees himself as a monster. It's a very physical performance as well as an emotional one, but I absolutely loved the physicality that Jacob Elordi brought to this performance. It was kind of reminiscent of Emma Stone's performance as Bella Baxter in Poor Things, because like Bella, he too is also learning how to walk and talk and do all these things for the first time in this ginormous disfigured body. But yeah, Elordi did a phenomenal job here. Alright then, let's talk about its Oscars chances. I think Frankenstein will be a techs and crafts player at the 2026 Academy Awards. Like, there's a few categories where I think it's a credible contender to even win. Those would be hair and makeup, because the makeup that's all over Jacob Elordi's body as the monster is extraordinary. That's gotta be a serious contender. Costumes for sure for Kate Hawley. Like, every outfit that Mia Goth wears in this film is a treat for the eyes, but also there's like foreshadowing stitched into the textiles. It's just very thoughtful costume work. Definitely score for Alexander Desplat. Like, the score in this is wondrous. I think it's most likely going to be in our 5. The question is, will it win? We've got some pretty great scores this year, what with Sinners and also Jay Kelly. Those are my locks and potential winners. I can also see it getting nominations for production design for Tamara Deverell, cinematography for Dan Louston, and I could see it also getting into visual effects and also sound, even though I did have some issues with those elements in this film. Some of the CGI in this just looked a little flat to me, and I'm not normally like a sound guy, but there were a few scenes in this where the sound did feel a little off, and if I'm noticing it, then others are probably bound to notice it as well. As for like above the line categories, I don't really see any of the performances in this getting nominated, even though it would be really cool to see like Jacob Elordi or even David Bradley show up in Best Supporting Actor, but my Oscar nomination alarm wasn't pinging after I saw these performances. Like, even though they're really good, I just didn't really get that knee-jerk reaction saying, oh yeah, they're gonna get nominated for this. As for Guillermo, I know that the Academy adores him, but I'm not sure if they're gonna give him nominations for directing or writing for this film. I think his direction is stronger than his writing in this, but I don't know if the Academy will feel the need to give him a directing nom for this. But there is a chance he still could get nominated for producing. Like, I could see a world where Frankenstein gets nominated for Best Picture, because there are 10 slots, and Guillermo's previous film, Nightmare Alley, somewhat surprisingly managed to squeeze into Best Picture last time, so there's every chance history could repeat itself. But if it didn't show up in Best Picture, I wouldn't be all that surprised. At the moment, I feel like it's a no for Best Picture, but if Netflix puts on a passionate campaign for this film, then yes, there is a world where I can see it getting into our 10. I think this has been a wonderful year for horror, but truth be told, there are so many other horror films that I would love to see get into a Best Picture 10, more so than Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, okay? I feel like Sinners and Bring Her Back would be much more inspired picks for Best Picture 10, but yeah, it seems more likely Guillermo del Toro would be the one to squeeze in because the Academy loves him. But what do you guys think? How many Oscar nominations is Frankenstein going to get, and in what categories? Whatever you think, let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. All right then, it's time to ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch it again? Absolutely. Even though I do think this film has its flaws, I was still very swept up in it in places, and I love getting lost in the stories that Guillermo del Toro tells us. So yeah, I will happily watch it again. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? If you're looking for a tragic horror with plenty of heart, then this is absolutely worth watching. But fair warning, if you're squeamish or don't like violence, there is some tough to watch sequences in this, some very gruesome deaths. And third question, what score to give out of 10? Like Frankenstein's monster, the end result of this movie is something that is a bit uneven, but still very lovable. And like David Bradley's Blind Man, I can see past this movie's issues and see the good qualities underneath, and see that it's a heart-wrenching story about loneliness, societal prejudice, and rejection, our desire for companionship, as well as the dangerous side of ambition and a quest for knowledge. There is a lot of really good stuff in this, but ultimately it did feel like less than a sum of its dismembered parts. So I'm gonna give Frankenstein a score of 7.5 out of 10. But as always, guys, it is just one bloke's opinion. I want to hear your thoughts on Frankenstein. Are you excited for this film? Have you seen it? If you have, what do you make of it? Where does it rank for you in all of Guillermo's filmography? Do you think it's gonna get some Oscar nominations? If so, in what categories? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys have enjoyed this video, help me out with a little thumbs up button for me. It's great for the algorithm. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars related content, don't forget to click that subscribe button for me. And for more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and Venice Film Festival coverage, I'm Luke Carefield, and I'll see you next time.